Welcome to this edition of NewsWatch. I'm Charlene Aaron. Today on the broadcast, politically correct in America. When it comes to speech, are we still the land of the free? But first, we go to our Mark Martin in the newsroom for the latest news of the day.
Thanks, Charlene. Our top story, the IRS settles a lawsuit with the National Organization for Marriage. NOM sued the agency for releasing a confidential tax return and donor list to a group that opposes it. And joining me now with more is John Eastman, who is NOM's chairman. John, first of all, is this settlement an admission of wrongdoing by the IRS?
It is. They've admitted that they were the source of the illegally disclosed tax return and donor list. We've identified the clerk in the Internal Revenue Service who failed to redact our donor information as she was required under the law to do. We were not able to prove that it was a willful disclosure rather than merely negligent, but there's some aspects of the case that still raise a lot of red flags about that as well.
Well, what does this settlement mean for your organization and other conservative groups like it?
Well, first of all, it means that we've held the IRS responsible for the illegally disclosed, unauthorized disclosure of our tax return. And they're having to pay our damages that we incurred as a result of that illegal disclosure. So that's an important warning shot across the bow that organizations that are on the receiving end of illegal conduct from the IRS can fight back.
Well, is this part of the larger problem the IRS is facing right now with its targeting scandal?
Well, perhaps. Here's the problem. We had a critical piece of information that we discovered during this litigation, that the gay activist that received our tax return unlawfully claims to have had a conduit that would allow him to get our donor information so that they could deter future donors. Now, when we deposed him during the litigation, he took the Fifth Amendment because what he did is a felony. But the Department of Justice has refused to prosecute him. More importantly, though, Department of Justice also refused to grant him immunity that we could use then to force him to answer our questions. So there's this still uncertainty about who his conduit is. Is it somebody in the IRS? Is there more to this story than we've been yet able to prove? And why is the Department of Justice refusing to grant him immunity if they've already made the decision they're not going to prosecute him anyway?
John, do you think there needs to be a special prosecutor investigating the scandal, as some members of Congress have called for?
Well, the problem with a special prosecutor is that he is ultimately answerable to the Department of Justice. We're finding frustration with the Department of Justice doing its job on this matter in the first place. I think I'd rather see a really vigorous a prosecutor hired by the Congressional Select Committee that's looking into this, that would pursue it not just as an oversight function, but as a prosecutorial function. And that means you try and find low-level people that have committed crimes. You bring the indictments against them. You then proceed to give them immunity if they can implicate people higher up in the food chain than them. That's how this proceeded during the Watergate investigation. And quite frankly, I think it's high time that that's how it proceeds here.
Do you think the agency is becoming more political or was simply used for political purposes?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. There's no question that leading members of the administration, all the way up to the president himself, as well as leading members of Congress, were expressing concern about what Tea Party groups and others were doing. And that leads government bureaucrats to want to act on those concerns. But I also think there's kind of a built-in bias by government agencies. When the challenge is coming from groups that oppose large government, the agencies that work for government are going to tend to have a pretty big thumb on the scale in favor of government. And so I think we saw a little bit of that playing out as well.
Okay, John Eastman of the National Organization for Marriage. Thanks, John, for your time today.
Thank you very much.
A federal judge strikes down an Indiana law protecting traditional marriage. He says it's unconstitutional and his ruling could lead to same-sex marriage in the state. It also is the 13th ruling of its kind in 5 months by federal judges. As Heather Sells found, this probably won't end until the Supreme Court gets involved.
In less than 20 years, America's support for gay marriage has more than doubled, from 25 to 55%. It's one reason gay advocates have boldly challenged traditional marriage.
More and more people just don't see anything wrong with homosexuality. And because of that, the legal challenges, I think, are following the cultural changes.
Over a number of years, 33 states took action to protect traditional marriage. Voters approved constitutional amendments in 29 states, and in 4 states, lawmakers passed bills upholding it. Now, in just a short time, gay rights advocates have pushed and judges have acted, striking down 12 of those laws.
The larger concern here is that the definition of marriage, which is so important, so intrinsic to the good of our society, it should not be decided by a handful of judges.
The legal turning point came last summer when the Supreme Court ruled that the Federal Defense of Marriage Act violated the Constitution.
The lack of serious reasoning in that opinion, I think, has led proponents of same-sex marriage to think that the path is clear to imposing same-sex marriage nationwide.
Yet conservative legal scholars point out that the decision doesn't mean that states must stop protecting traditional marriage.
The Supreme Court said nothing good or bad about same-sex marriage, and they certainly did not impose a 50-state mandate saying that every state needed to now change their marriage laws.
Most court watchers think the justices will take up the issue of marriage in the next 2 years. And a big reason why is that the lower federal courts right now are disagreeing over whether or not keeping that traditional definition of marriage violates the Constitution.
Right now, you've got some lower federal courts saying that it's a denial of equal protection of law to not allow gay marriage, and other lower federal courts are saying, no, that's not a constitutional violation. The Supreme Court doesn't usually like to let a situation go on very long where the Constitution means different things in Utah than in Massachusetts.
Just how the court might rule is anyone's guess.
Up until this point, the Supreme Court has not found any fundamental right to practice homosexuality, but they could be on the verge of doing that.
The court could simply legalize gay marriage, meaning states could not deny gays a constitutional right to equal protection. Many Christians fear that would also greatly hinder religious liberty. Or it could decide that the Constitution does not speak to marriage and hand the issue back to the states. Either way, the implications are huge. And what does this mean to a government for and by the people? Will voters revolt or give up when they consistently see activist judges overturn the laws they pass? Heather Sells, CBN News.
Representative Frank Wolf rebuked his own denomination for changing its stance on marriage. Calling himself a follower of Jesus, Wolf said he's deeply grieved by what transpired at last week's gathering of the PCUSA's General Assembly. Wolf, a Presbyterian from Virginia, was referring to the church's vote to recognize same-sex marriage as a Christian event in the church constitution. Speaking on the House floor Tuesday, Wolf said the vote violates the biblical definition of marriage as a joining of one man and one woman. U.S. lawmakers are calling for a new urgency to defeat the terrorist army on the march in Iraq. As Dale Hurd reports, they say the terrorists are a threat to America.
Iraqi men continue to volunteer to defend Baghdad as close to 10,000 terrorists from the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, continue to advance toward the capital. With American advisors now on the ground in Iraq, there is new information that terrorists in Iraq and Syria present a clear and present danger to the American homeland.
There was no doubt in anybody's mind who briefed us that eventually the people who are trying to conquer Iraq and make it an Islamic caliphate, run every Christian or kill every Christian in the Mideast, and they will hit us at home.
Officials are concerned that the fighting in Syria and Iraq is a terrorist training ground, and it's breeding cooperation between groups who want to hit the United States. Recent intelligence shows that 2 al-Qaeda-affiliated groups, one in Syria and one in Yemen, are working together to develop new non-metallic bombs that are difficult to detect and easier to smuggle onto commercial aircraft.
This collection, this relationship building that you see around the world, that's why those of us who do this for a living are so concerned about the security threat to the United States.
And in Iraq, U.S. officials are trying to persuade Sunni militiamen to fight back against ISIS, as they did nearly 10 years ago against al-Qaeda. But that may be a tough sell.
The reason this terrorist group has made so much progress is they have an ally in the Sunni population. But the Sunni population is literally doing a deal with the devil.
But Sunnis have been alienated by Shiite Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, who's now lost much of Iraq to Sunni insurgents and is now trying to simply defend Baghdad. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
There are conflicting reports on the freedom of Miriam Ibrahim. She's the Sudanese mother condemned to die for refusing to renounce her Christian faith. Tina Ramirez with the human rights group Hardwired tells CBN News that Miriam and her family are back in prison. She says Miriam is charged with falsifying documents to travel. Reportedly, these are the documents that the U.S. government gave Miriam. Ramirez says more pressure is needed to see Miriam and her family freed and allowed to leave Sudan. Jordan Sekula with the American Center for Law and Justice says now is the time for a maximum effort by the Obama administration to secure safe passage to America for the entire family. CBN News is following this story closely. We're going to have the latest developments at cbnnews.com anytime we have more information to report. Egypt's most famous Christian convert from Islam has been sentenced to 5 years in prison, according to Christianity Today. Mohammed Hegazi was charged with disturbing the peace and broadcasting false information on a Coptic Christian TV station. The programs documented the political unrest in Egypt and extremist Muslim attacks on Christians. Hegazi's attorney says the real reason his client was sentenced was because he abandoned Islam and became a Christian. Well, that's all for our headlines now. NewsWatch continues with CBN's Charlene Aaron. She'll have much more, including a story about an ongoing effort to shut Christians up.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Is America still the land of the free, a land where we can say what we think, even if it's politically incorrect? Well, some people say no. They warn that basic freedoms are under attack by some who call themselves liberals. And as Mark Martin reports, they try to silence anyone who disagrees with them.
In the movie Ben-Hur, one famous scene depicts an ancient Roman ship reaching the speed needed to ram an enemy. Wall Street Journal columnist Daniel Henninger wrote recently the left has hit ramming speed these days, hitting hard those who disagree with its viewpoints. Case in point, graduation season 2014 and its potential commencement speakers. The group known as FIRE, or Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, called it disinvitation season. After 2 months of protests over her role in the Iraq invasion, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice withdrew as Rutgers speaker. Brandeis withdrew its invitation to Somali author and activist Ayaan Hirsi Ali, saying her statements against radical Islam were not in line with the school's core values.
People on campuses have become more and more used to the idea that they should only hear things that they're comfortable with. Regardless of who is on campus or who's doing the educating, the fact is the message is getting across from everything from, unfortunately, I think our high schools and definitely in college, that there are some views that are just so awful that they shouldn't even be heard on campuses.
FIRE's Senior Vice President Robert Shibley says it's a sad fact that on campuses today, conservatives and Christians are the most likely to face censorship or discrimination because of their viewpoints. FIRE's office is located across the street from Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the site where our founding fathers signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Shibley says America has strayed far from what our founders intended when it comes to protecting basic freedoms. Over the last year, conservative scholar and author Stephen Hayward found himself at a hub of left-wing thinking, the University of Colorado in Boulder. The university hired him as the first visiting scholar in conservative thought and policy. He says the school deserves some credit for thinking out of the box, but admits it wasn't easy.
It was quite a challenge. People joke that being a conservative at a campus like Boulder that has a reputation for being very far to the left, it's like being a rabbi in Mecca or something like that.
Hayward says one major area where the left is asserting itself on college campuses is gender definition. He says it's startling how gender denorming is now prominent. That's the belief that human beings can actually choose their gender regardless of their physical makeup.
There's lots and lots of courses on this. So I had said on a radio interview that I thought that there was a lot of this and that it was quite politicized. Well, that did not go over very well on campus. And first some students found some old writings of mine, and then a faculty member, a chairman actually of the faculty assembly, said what I had said on the radio amounted to hate speech. Well, this is preposterous. And he proposed trying to censure me until cooler heads prevailed.
Hayward says it makes sense he wasn't censured because of what's known as academic freedom on campus. But he believes the fact he was caught in a firestorm sends a message.
What it really showed, I think, is there is an impulse on many universities today to shut down academic freedom, to shut down free speech, to squelch any dissent from radical ideology. In other words, it's a new form of oppression, all in the name of ending oppression. It's very Orwellian. I think it's very dangerous and quite sinister.
Hayward and other conservatives have written extensively about growing attacks on academic freedom and free speech. They point to an undergraduate columnist for the Harvard Crimson who went so far as to write, "Let's give up on academic freedom in favor of justice." When an academic community observes research promoting or justifying oppression, it should ensure that this research does not continue. The student columnist focused on conservative Harvard government professor Harvey Mansfield. How do we get to the point where it's open season on anyone who disagrees with liberal viewpoints? Many believe the Obama administration's policies opened the door. They say the trigger event happened last year when the federal government and the University of Montana signed an agreement to end a 12-month investigation of the university over its handling of sexual harassment cases. The document is known as the Blueprint. It makes it easy to accuse someone of sexual harassment, and critics say it could threaten all kinds of speech protected by the First Amendment.
Things that people might say is sexist, all kinds of sort of strange things in certain circumstances, requesting a date, things like that. And so it was so broadly drawn and so carelessly done that it really threatened free speech on campuses across the country.
Shibley says universities around the country are confused about whether they're required to follow the so-called blueprint, and he believes that could lead to people on campuses being afraid to speak or write politically incorrect viewpoints. In addition, Hayward says the far left no longer tries to cover up, quote, its authoritarian streak in any kind of theory, except, we're right, you're wrong, you must shut up.
If you dare to raise any objection or even questions about some of the radical dogmas on campus, like gender identity theory, but also global warming and even animal rights, I discovered to my surprise, people will say not just that you're wrong, but that you shouldn't even have the right to say such things.
And if you do, you may find yourself the victim of ramming speed. Mark Martin, CBN News, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Boulder, Colorado.
Up next, from jail to Jesus, we'll tell you what's got these Rwandan boys singing for joy.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids! Do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Not long ago, Pacifique Nayitanga was roaming the streets of Rwanda doing almost anything to survive. That's why it's so remarkable that today he sings praises to God for his goodness. Myra Alessandra has his story.
You Are Precious is the tune Pacifique and two other former street boys are singing to God today. They have hope and joy they didn't know existed back when they survived on the streets. Pacifique never knew his father, and he lost his mother when he was only 3 years old. With no one to care for him and no opportunity to go to school, he started working at a very young age. By the time he was 8, he was on the streets of Kigali, trying to survive.
How did I get food is like steering things, and my favorite food it was like I took that drugs for to make me free for the sadness.
Pacifique got arrested and put in prison when he was only 8 years old. There, he was beaten and often went days without food. He eventually escaped and went back to live on the streets without much hope for a future. Until Hope for Life Ministry went to the market where Pacifique spent most of his time. Hope for Life was there to rescue street kids.
But me, I was not on the list, but they took me because plan of God to me.
Today, Pacifique's life is very different. For the past 5 years, Hope for Life Ministry has provided food, shelter, formal education, and training for his future career. But more than that, the ministry has shared God's love with Pacifique and his friends, a love that has transformed them forever.
Yeah, I think God has a plan for me. Before in the street, I was sad, but now there is difference. I hope for a good future.
Pacifique and two of his friends formed a gospel band called Shining Hope. Their first song, You Are Precious, speaks about the joy of knowing God. Myra Alejandra, CBN News.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Tens of thousands of fans have traveled to Brazil to get front row seats to the World Cup action. Among the travelers are Christians using this as a unique opportunity to spread the love of Christ. A group of men from the Christ Community Church in Illinois traveled to Manaus to visit their sister church. But that wasn't their main goal for the week. Their mission to keep the local children out of trouble while sharing their faith. They do this by playing soccer with the kids and providing them with sports equipment.
Send teams down pretty regularly, but it really was convenient to be able to come down during the World Cup and to support what they're doing down here.
It's fun, and whenever we talk about soccer, we seem to understand each other, but we can't understand each other when we're talking about anything else. Soccer seems to be a language down here.
And even though the church members have been playing together for years, they were no match for the local kids. The church group is also setting up medical teams and English language learning camps. Good for them. Well, that's it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day and God bless.